Bentley thought he was more famous than Nelson Mandela. That's how much he was getting on our nerves.
Hello and welcome back to RugbyPass Offload with me, Christina Mahan. This episode is brought to you in partnership with the Famous Grouse, the official whiskey of the British and Irish Lions. And today I'm joined by some usual suspects in Ryan Wilson and Jamie Roberts, but also delighted to welcome the Prince of Centres, three-time Lion and World Rugby Hall of Famer, Jerry Guscott. The Lions veteran and now one of the most respected pundits in the game is going to help us celebrate the spirit of rugby, discuss the Lions selection and so much more. How are you doing, guys?
I'm good. I'm very good. I'm, sunny Bath, bit windy. It seems like we've got the beast from the east coming in all the time because I go out, it's still sunny, but it's still cold. I want the temperature to get up nearer 20 so I can properly put my shorts and t-shirt on.
Well, let's talk about the squad announcement. Lions were announced last week. What did you guys make of it? Jerry, I'll start with you.
I get excited every time the Lions comes around, and having been there waiting to find out whether you're going to make the squad. We haven't had a load of rugby, so it's hard to get some context. I think the team looks, it's not full of superstars. I mean, if you look at the Lions squad, how many would you, without argument, would get into a World 15 right now? So I think the Lions this year will go into South Africa a little bit under the radar. I don't think the box will feel this Lions squad is a huge threat, which will be brilliant for them because that's exactly as they saw us in 97. And we know what happened there.
Back in the day, did the players get to find out before the general public did? Was that and then did it change or?
Yeah, certainly in 89, we knew as players, that was my first one. So, and my memory's not great, but I'm pretty sure I got a nudge from Jack Ryle, the coach, saying that because Will Carling had pulled out with injury, Ian McGeechan had been on the phone to Jack Ryle and started talking about myself. So Jack gave me the nudge. The next thing I got a phone call. Oh, blimey, this isn't bad. Keith Rowlands, the manager in 89, saying that I was going to be selected. Congratulations. But I really didn't believe it was him. John Morrison was second row at Bath. And he was quite good at accents, and he was always winding people up. And I thought that it was him to begin with. And luckily, I didn't swear or put the phone down. I just let it go on and on and on, and realised, well, there's no way Morrison could keep this accent up for this long. So I actually believe that. 93 might have been teletext. 97 was definitely Sky. But from 93 to 97, unless you knew the coaches pretty well, he might have given you a little bit of a nudge and a steer. You had no idea.
The game turned professional in 95, didn't it? So you've done tours in both the amateur era and professional era.
I have, and I've done. The best years of touring is without social media, without a doubt, and we managed that.
Yeah, fair play. I know. I'm gutted. I'm jealous. I'm very jealous. So 09, it was just coming in. I think we were the last of the old school, like without social media, we're last of the kind of touring Lions that every second, lads didn't have their phone out recording everything, or they were on their phones all the time. Big difference 4 years later. But yeah, I'm very envious you got to tour the Lions in the amateur era. We'll find out more about that in a bit.
Well, I think a big part of that is I'm guessing that they don't like telling anyone they're in now because everything gets out. Teams get leaked, everything gets out there, doesn't it, nowadays? So I actually love that. I think you saw some of the reactions from some of the guys in their clubs. Like we all sat around, guys had the option, you could sit with the boys or go and sit in your car, and Ali Price sat outside in his car because he couldn't handle it, whereas Xander Fagerson was in with us. And I just love watching those back. I think that's awesome, seeing the boys celebrate with each other. I think that's such a cool way to find out.
It's bittersweet because you can be you're the one who gets selected, right, and a good mate, a good club colleague doesn't. So, what is the right way? I mean, the way now, the suspense on TV or however they're going to broadcast it is brilliant for the fans, not great for the players.
Oh, savage. It's savage for the players. And I feel for some other, and as you said, Jerry, it is bittersweet. And for everyone that makes it, there's another player that's massively disappointed to miss out. Like emotionally, it's difficult. I remember 4 years ago, Sky the night before they announced that I was going. Right, I don't know if you remember it. So they came out and said, "Oh, Robert's to be selected for the Lions." Right, so all my mates and my family are texting me, saying, "Oh, well done, mate, awesome third tour." And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. Half of me is thinking, I'm not going to believe the bullshit. The other half of me is thinking, there's no smoke without fire, right? But they wouldn't run the story otherwise. So I haven't slept at all that night, and I've kind of gone in, and a few of the lads are like, "Oh, well done, man, awesome." And I'm like, "Boys, nightmare." Lo and behold, I wasn't in the squad, and it was savage. It was so savage. But luckily, I reflect, I was lucky to go on a couple of tours. But emotionally, for some of those lads, someone like Danny Kerr this year, the media were just chucking his name around left, right, and centre, weren't they? And other lads, we've all seen Carl Sinclair's interview down at the Rec on the weekend. When your name is chucked about there, you can't escape it as a player. Whenever you're all your mates, all your families messaging you saying, "Oh, we're getting really excited," and then you get let down, it's really, really difficult. But that's the way it should be. The Lions should be about, the top players getting picked, and ultimately that means a lot of players are going to miss out.
We live in environments that we've always lived in the environment from the time you play mini rugby, junior rugby, to you get to the top, the international, then onto the Lions. We're selected on ability. For the most part, 99% of the time, you are selected on your ability. The Lions, even so, much more. And, the guys who didn't play well during the Six Nations put themselves at risk. If you play out your skin, you are pretty much guaranteed. I mean, although someone like Hamish Watson, although he was player of the Six Nations, there's so much competition in the back row, but he stood out and he put himself right up for selection. And if he wasn't selected, there would have been a bit of a backlash. So the guys that didn't make it, really, in most part, didn't play well enough.
Who are you all most excited now to watch?
Lewis Rees-Zammit. I think, 18 months ago, would anybody have thought that young man would be selected for the squad to go to South Africa? It's what dreams are made of. He was so exciting during the Six Nations, and he won't believe what's happening to him right now. His try against Scotland, where he was full pelt, kicked the ball. Yeah, he got the bounce, but he deserved the bounce because he had a go. He wasn't scared to have a go, and it was absolutely fantastic and brilliant to watch. And I think everybody who's ever played rugby, you watch Lewis play, and it reminds you of being a kid and how you first played and how much you enjoyed it. So I think as long as he doesn't get overwhelmed by the aura of the Lions, because it can be a weight to carry. He doesn't think about it too much, continues in the vein that he has. He will love it. And don't go with the expectation of being the test team. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Listen to all those much more experienced players around you, much in the same way as he has done whilst playing for Wales and being part of the Gloucester team. And just go there. And if it happens, it happens. But just try and enjoy that whole experience. He'll love it.
He's proper quick. He is proper quick, man. Jerry, did he play with anyone that quick? Does he? Jamie, compared to me. Yeah. Oh, my Jesus, I'd be one-on-one against Lewis Rees-Zammit. Jesus, God help me. I reckon he'd catch me up. If I had halfway to try line interception, I reckon he'd catch me from our try line. He'd burn me. And it looks effortless, doesn't it? That's the beauty of the lad. He's running. He looks like he's jogging.
I say, with you professionals, it's kind of, I mean, you've always looked big, Jamie, like 6'4", 16 and a half, 17 stone, but, lean. I remember seeing you guys first at the old Millennium, and the back line that you had in your palm was just, I thought, I really shouldn't be playing. No, I'm glad I'm not playing rugby against guys your size. And we've become accustomed to the leanness of rugby players. Honestly, Lewis looks average. He looks relatively small on the rugby field, but then you see him up against the big guys in the forwards. I mean, the guy's 6'2", 6'3", and he's nearly 16 stone, and he can motor like that. I still take him on a flat, straight race. I'm pretty sure I'd take him.
We should definitely set that one up.
He's a size. He's a good build.
I said already. We've mentioned Sam Simmons. I think the whole rugby fraternity were desperate to hear his name called. We've seen him what form he's in. Jerry spoke about him being a point of difference. I mean, there's no I don't think any back rower in Britain currently can do what he does, carrying the wider channels. He's probably quicker than most backs, more powerful than most backs. His footwork, his handling ability. He's going to, if he stays fit and performs at his ability, he's going to be frightening in South Africa. And the other one is Duhan van der Merwe. I think it's a really, really clever pick. And I think he's a guy that he is South African. He gets it. He'll know what the country's about. And I just think he has all the ability in the world. He's been a revelation for Scotland. This Six Nations proper pace and power and his ability to change direction quickly, not lose pace. When he got that weight behind it, frightening ability. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him.
With Duhan van der Merwe, I reckon it's shit or bust. I think it's a dangerous one because he's going over there. Does he do well because he's South African and he knows them, or do they get torn into him? Do they absolutely tear him to bits and make a point out of absolutely going for him? Because I can see it. I can see the Saffers, getting their back up over him.
I think he can be the John Bentley of 2021. I would give Jerry. You can talk to us about John Bentley on tour. Just came from obscurity and became a sensation. Tell us about John Bentley, mate. I'm intrigued.
Surely he's told you all himself.
Does it?
Bentos, Bentley thought he was more famous than Nelson Mandela. Whilst we were out there in '97, it was almost like, well, would you mind spending a bit as much time on Robben Island as Nelson did? That's how much he was getting on our nerves. But no, hey, what a try he scored midweek! It was off the charts. And if he didn't score it, he was going to get some stick from me because I came on a really cool, tight scissors. And I'm pretty sure I would have been under the post with 30 yards to go, but he took it. He knew what he was doing, and it was awesome. But no, Jamie, you'll know from touring that you need tourists. You need people that are going to keep the squad lively, bubbly, buzzing. And Bentos did all those. I mean, he was a good noise 90% of the time. 10% of the time it was. You wanted to get rid of it, but 90% of the time it was off the chart, and he kept us going. He kept us together, and he was a big part of our success without doubt.
Jerry, you've played with some good tens in a time. Who did you see going? If before the tour was announced, before the squad was announced, which tens? Considering now that you're playing the Springboks, not the All Blacks or Australia, which tens would you have picked?
I think nailed on to go on the tour were Owen and Dan, without doubt. I just thought Farrell, because he's been there and done it, and in the cauldron of a stadium in South Africa with or without fans, he'll knock over the important kick. Dan Bigger again toured, and his kicking is phenomenal, and I just thought his defensive display during the Six Nations was bang on. Those two were going. I thought it was a flip between Finn and Johnny. And if I'm honest, I think Finn deserved the opportunity to go and prove how good and how much improved and how much he's learned over the last couple of years. I've seen a real maturity in his game. I would play with old Finn as much as I'd play with new Finn. Old Finn would throw the ball 30 yards from underneath his posts or in his own 22. Which doesn't win you international games. It doesn't. No matter what anyone says, it might be great to watch. It ain't winning you a Six Nations Grand Slam or Championship. Guaranteed that. The new improved Finn Russell is someone who takes risks when he's almost done an assessment. It's almost like after an advantage, the team's got the advantage. He'll then have a dabble. But to win Lions Tours, to win World Cups, to win championships, you have to play more safe than take the risk. And I thought that's what he did during the Six Nations. So he deserves to go. I would have felt sorry for him if he didn't go on this tour.
Like, I know you were saying, there are people playing throughout the Six Nations, but someone who didn't even get a look in was Sam Simmonds, and he's now made it onto the squad. So what did you make of Sam? That's
the beauty of the Lions and selection. That's quite traditional in some ways, although, Sam's capped. In '97, Will Greenwood came on the tour as an uncapped player. And I think it was a bit of the way that the Lions used to do things back in the day. Warren Gatland is an incredibly experienced, savvy coach. This is the third tour he's leading as head coach. He didn't pick Sam Simmons just because Eddie Jones hadn't picked him. He's picked him because he sees some true quality and ability in that man who can be a point of difference. These days, we're used to the back row being massive brutes, aggressive, big ball carriers. And Hamish is the scourge of most teams. He looks like a whirling kind of man from Borneo. He looks like a crazy man. His hair's all over the place. He gets in, his sleeves are rolled up. He slows opposition ball down. He carries reasonably well. He's an annoyance, and I'm sure if he gets in that test team, he'll be a massive annoyance to the box and a massive frustration, and someone who could win lots of penalties for Dan Biggar or Owen Farrell to knock over.
Or Finn Russell.
Finn, yeah.
Dan or Owen. Sorry if you misheard me.
Ryan, Scotland did well, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they did as well as everyone else. I think we did as well as expected. We had a good Six Nations, and some boys stood up. And like you said, it goes on merit. I think most of Scotland players, you wouldn't see a Scotland player go in there that hasn't played, like a Courtney Laws who hasn't played any rugby. So the good thing about all the Scotland boys, they're all going on merit from a good Six Nations, like Jerry spoke about.
Well, I think you guys, the Scottish boys, have the same amount as we do. And we have our first Connacht line in like 38 years. So that's class for Bundy.
I think when George North got injured, I looked at the Lions squad, and I think most players or most pundits have picked their Lions squads, and you want balance in your back line. You certainly want balance in your midfield, and the way George has played in the midfield this year, I think he would have been that guy against the box. You want balance, you want tactical game, you want footwork, you want pace, but you also need a focal point to your attack, someone who can win your yards in, right on the advantage line up against lots of defenders. And George would have been that guy. Once he got injured, I looked across the midfield in the UK, just thinking, right, who is in the frame to be that ball carrier? Henshaw's been on form, deserves to go, no doubt. We all know John Davis is finding his way back to full fitness. So, he obviously didn't get selected. He'd be a bit disappointed. Now, not many pundits would have picked Bundee Aki, but if you think about the way Warren Gatland coaches, he knows him from his days coaching the Chiefs. There's not many better ball carriers around. Guys that can really win you the advantage line, who are playing Test rugby in the UK. England don't have any. They're missing Manu. And certainly when George went down, that I think that opened the door for Bundee Aki. And I love the fact they've picked Duhan van der Merwe as well, because I think he's a guy who can be a real superstar on this trip. Has pace, power, real evasive skills. And it wouldn't surprise me if he starts on that first test, because the Lions are going to need guys to give them real punch. And he's going to be as effective as any midfielder in doing that.
Well, look, it also came as no surprise to us, I think, on the show that Alun Jones was selected as captain. Jerry, is that who you would have chosen as captain?
Again, if you asked me at the end of the autumn internationals that we had, no. I wasn't sure that Wyn Jones could hold down his place in the side, let alone be captain of the Lions. But his performances in the Six Nations again were just supreme. He led by example for Wales, and a good player, a player that can make a World 15 or give himself a chance to make a World 15. His worst game is 7 out of 10, and that's where Alun Wyn Jones got to. Martin Johnson was a player whose worst game was probably 7.5 out of 10. Alun Wyn Jones, every time he plays for Wales, puts himself up for man of the match. And I don't think you can ask anything more of your captain than that. I don't know what he says behind the scenes. Jamie will know what kind of spokesperson or what kind of leader he is, but certainly on performance, for how I would have responded as a player. I don't respond from words very much. I'm very much led by what somebody can do on the field. And, when you've got a captain who asks you to do something and can do it himself and more, you can't help but follow.
Fair enough. Well, I suppose someone who is in disagreement about Alun is the South African media, who have labelled him as a pensioner who needs a wheelchair. Do you guys think that he actually does have enough in the tank to start each test match and to lead from the front? Jamie?
I do. Look, Jerry spoke about his performances in the Six Nations. I was probably the same opinion. Like after the autumn series, I think a lot of people back home in Wales are probably questioning, they've lost quite a few games. We lost to Scotland at home. How is the Six Nations going to pan out? But both him and Ken Owens actually came off long-term injuries and played all 5 games and produced amazing performances in a Six Nations winning side. So that's a testament to their professionalism. It's a testament to their ability as test match players to produce after not having played much rugby. These guys probably don't have to play club rugby. They can just get there straight away. They don't really have to warm up. They can reach those heights straight away. They know what it's about. And Alun has played in all 9 of the past Lions test matches. Let's not forget that. He didn't start all 3 in South Africa, but he started the last 6. No one in the professional era has done that. No one has done that. No one has that experience. No one really has that experience to know what the Lions tour is about. So, since Wales won the Six Nation, there was a lot of chat around it. I think in most people's minds, it had to be Alun when he looked across the candidates. Yes, Hoggy, Owen Farrell, Marrow. I'd chuck Ken Owens in there. Johnny Sexton obviously didn't get picked. But experience, leadership, leading by example, I don't think anyone comes close to Alun. And as what I've just said, is he fit enough to play test matches? I think he's shown he is. I think he's shown he can reach that test level without playing club rugby. So he's more than ready for me.
I'm not saying he's not fit enough, but genuinely, I think you can get away with having someone on the field like that with his experience, his leadership, that actually doesn't need to be fit enough. As long as you put him with a young enough bloke that's going to back him up in that second row, he gets
like Marrow.
Around. Listen, I'm not bagging all second rows here, but it's a pretty easy job. You're in the middle of the scrum. Right? You're not at the front, so you're not getting people.
Brave man.
You're not at the back. You're not getting shredded by defences, and you pretty much stand around where the ruck is. So you don't actually need to do that much. You just get through it, line out cooler, get it to your best jumpers. It's a pretty easy job. So for his leadership and his experience, have him in there all day long, because you don't need the best players on the field sometimes. You need the best men, and you can tell that he's one of them easily. That's a dangerous thing to say.
What I will add on Alun Jones is that the game is a physical game and it's about effort. And I've not known a playing colleague in my career that could match his enthusiasm or intensity. I always prided myself on bringing energy to training. I could never top him. I could never. However hard I tried, first to the next drill, bring as much energy as I can, micro chat in amongst the lads, just bringing that bounce, what it's about. I could never top Alun Jones. As hard as I tried, I could never do it. The bloke's been doing it for 15 years at test level and at club level. And so, that's the sort of bloke he is, regardless of his skill set and how old he is, whatever. He has this ability to bring an energy that is, I don't think, matched.
Let's not forget his influence he'll have on the referees.
Yeah,
all throughout his career, I believe as captains, when he's been captain, or even just as a player, he's not someone that referees have highlighted. Oh, he's a serial penalty giver awayer, or he's always having an argument or a point at the referee. If Morrow was made captain, you'd be a bit worried that it might stop him from being the player that he is. If Owen was made captain, you would have thought, he's always going to be chomping at the ref, and that will take away from what's actually going to happen on the pitch. It would be a story in the media. But with Alun Jones, everybody around the world in rugby has huge respect for him, including and importantly referees.
Look, we've got our squad named. I want each of you to pick your starting 15 for the first test against South Africa. We've kind of been chatting about it here. Jerry, I want you to go first, right? And then guys, I feel like any player that you maybe differ on, shout it out, and we can.
Why not just do? Can I do the ones that I think are definite?
Yeah.
Can I just do the back line?
No chance. No one wants to do the front 5.
You do the back line. I'll disagree with you, and we'll leave the forwards to Ryan.
Okay. Mako, George, Furlong, Wyn Jones, Itoje, Falatay, Curry, Watson or Tipperick. Watson, Murray, Bigger. Oh, geez.
This is it, the centres, man.
Henshaw. Well, I know who Jamie would go for. So, okay. No, I'm going to leave 12. Watson, Zamet, and if Hogg does not drop a ball in the warm-up games, he starts at fullback. If he drops one or two, Liam Williams will play at 15.
See, I think Farrell 12, Henshaw 13, Watson, Hogg, and I think if you're playing Farrell and Henshaw, you play Van der Merwe on the left wing. If you play Henshaw and Chris Harris, you play a Reece Zamet on the wing.
Who are you going 9 and 10, Jamie? Are you sticking with
Murray, Bigger. I just think all-round game, tactical kicking ability. Those two are the best in the game at the minute on form. I know Russell's attacking kicking ability, but just control. In Murray and Bigger, I see control. I see two guys throughout 80 minutes of a test match being just dictating field position, proper poise and control. So, boring. Which is going to need. Yeah. Jerry said it, man. Sometimes it wins test matches.
But when you got Owen Farrell at 12, there's your control, I reckon, with that side of things. That's why you can then put Finn Russell at 10. And I've said it.
That's a valid point.
I've said it from the beginning. Have Finn Russell at 10. You've got to have a sidekick. Him and Ali Price are like that, and they work so well together that they. I don't think you
beat South Africa playing running rugby. I generally don't.
So I'm going for excitement. That's my problem.
Well, Jerry, thanks to the Famous Grouse, we are celebrating the spirit of rugby. And for someone who has played across 3 Lions tours, which teammate of yours encapsulated the spirit of rugby the most, and why?
Oh, crumbs. Do you know what? It's tough to single out one person because you're also chuffed to be on there. You've read so much, you've seen so much, you all want to be part of it. And I was fortunate enough to go on those 3 tours, and if I could single out one person from each tour, it would be Finley Calder, the captain of 89, Ben Clark, the blindside number 8 in 93, and Scott Gibbs in 97. Both Ben Clark and Scott Gibbs were men of the tour. Their performances were outstanding, and to be man of the tour, player of the tour for the Lions, you have to encapsulate everything, all the spirit that the Lions entails. And Finley Calder was a very underestimated player and captain. He was outstanding in 89. People were talking about a player who I played with at Bath called Andy Robinson, who should be playing, but he got injured, was lucky to be on the tour. But Finley led by example, a bit like we talked about Alun Jones, was absolutely fantastic. So those 3 players for me encapsulate what the spirit of rugby is all about, and particularly the Lions spirit.
What about those on the opposing teams?
Well, Christina, again, you imagine we as Lions, as home union players, get the opportunity every 4 years. South Africans, Australians, and New Zealanders, it's every 12 years. You could be the outstanding player for that nation, and the Lions might not even tour during your career. I mean, how mad is that? But it's possible. So I think every player in the opposition that plays the Lions encapsulates the spirit that there should be for there, because they just do not get the opportunity very often. So not just one player from the opposition, all the players in the opposition.
Well, what for you, what makes the Lions so special?
Christina, the Lions are special because so many reasons. You become one of the best, that the players are selected from those 4 home unions. it's a nice recognition, but you're only part way there. Then you train against the best of the best. You play with the best of the best, and then there has to be another kind of cut off, and you get to the test selection. What you have to give so much of yourself for a Lions tour to be successful. You have to be selfless, and that's really hard to do. It's easy for some, but hard for others. I mean, I remember playing for my country, and I wouldn't take club moves to England. It's just, I didn't want to give away the secrets that we had at Bath to my country. I mean, that's flipping crazy. But that's how I felt. But for the Lions, I just handed it over. I just went, here it is. This is what we do. If we can make it work with this kind of quality, why not? You know, for some, you just give everything. You're part of a, it's like a band of brothers. You are given no chance when you leave to play any of those teams. People just write you off. I mean, there was an awesome side in 2001 that went to Australia. They weren't given much chance. You shouldn't win. You know, how do we like each other? I mean, the coaches do an unbelievable job getting those 4 teams who bash the crap out of each other for the best 3-4 years to lob them in a hotel environment, an intense environment, and they've got to get on. And somehow you do. So that is what makes it special. Against all odds, you come together, you work out very quickly what you got to do. And you don't force the friendships. It's with you for life. And a lot of, you know, back in the day when rugby was all about touring. I remember being a mini rugby player, going on tour at the end of the season. That's what you all look forward to, your hard work during the season. And it was the same as a junior, as a colt, as playing for the 3rd team, the 2nd team, the 1st team at Bath, end of season tour. So the tradition of touring in rugby is massive. And to be part of the Lions, you know, there is no bigger rugby tour, but to relate it to, you know, your community game, the Lions tour is a junior rugby club tour with profile. You do a lot of the same things. You go there for the right reasons, and you go there to win against all odds. And I've been lucky enough to be part of 2 squads that have managed to win a series. And you know, there's no better feeling in rugby for me.
I'm going to ask you a question. What were you like as a tourist? You're an older bloke now. You seem quite a sensible bloke. But I've just got this picture of you as a young kid going on these Lions tours, especially in an amateur era, as being a bit of a joker in the pack. Tell us what you were like as a tourist.
I was mischievous. I like finding out what makes people tick. So I could be a bit annoying, but it was just to find out people's sort of breaking strain, really. You know, I was clearly careful who I picked on. There weren't too many big guys that could fit me in. But do you know what, Jay? You know, Jamie, you've been there. There's just there's masses of respect when you come up against the guys that you've played against. You come together as one. It's a bit of a learning exercise, really. I was relatively quiet. I mean, I looked a lot in training. I relished the opportunity of not just going up against the guys that I'd gone up against in this 5 Nations, but some of my own teammates. You know, I love the fact that, okay, we played against each other at club level, but to get that close in training, and you're just wanting to prove yourself a lot of the time against, you know, for and to show to the coaches that you're ready, you're in form. You find out a lot about yourself on a tour like that. Can you, in that situation, under that massive intensity, survive? And you get pulled in all sorts of different directions. You know, I'm not the only one who's tweaking people to find out what they are. The coaches are. I mean, in '97, the English were particularly worried about Jim Telfer. I mean, massively worried about Jim Telfer because he was a headmaster. Apparently, he treated the Scottish players on a tour to New Zealand not too time before that tour in 97, and there was a curfew. I mean, come off it. You know, as men, you can't have curfew. You got to go out as long as you want, when you want, because we're responsible people. So there was a bit of a worry about that Jim was going to lay the law down there, and we would have to say, look, mate, it don't happen. That might be Scotland, but it's all right for Scotland, but it ain't no good for the Lions, particularly English boys aren't interested in that. And Jim tested me pretty early on in that tour. We had a dirt tracking session, and it was the old one where you had the guy in the middle, you had 10 tackle bags, and the coach would shout out 1, you'd run to the 1 tackle bag, hit that, he'd shout out 8, you moved to 8. And there was about 8 or 9 of us, and we did that tackling session. And the boys got about 4 or 5 hits each, and then I got in the middle, and he said, Jerry, 2, 5, 7, 1, 8. It just went on and on. And that was his test to see if I was going to crack and have a go at him, or, you know, we would end up going to have a row. But I just did what I had to do, as much as I had to do, and just got on it. And that's what the Lions, the beauty of the Lions is, it brings you up to the level you need to be, or it can level off an attitude. It can make you real, and it can make you part of the team. And that's what you need to have, 1, an enjoyable tour, and 2, a successful one.
You must have seen some tour pranks over the time. 3 tours. What was the best one? You got
you'll see in 97, A Living with the Lions. You got Keith Wood coming in as the judge. You got Simon Shaw dressed up in a white vest and
brilliant,
and a moustache.
Yeah. It's got the full Freddie Mercury, isn't he?
Yeah, you got Neil Jenkins as Ruprecht, and we had Austin Healy as something else. But use your imagination. He had a neck chain on. He was dressed in leather. I can't say any more, I'm afraid. But yeah, the tour court was a great crack, and the rest will remain as it always does. What happens on tour stays on tour.
Awesome. You were only 23 when you forced your way into the Lions team in the second test against Australia in 1989. And then you scored one of the most memorable tries in rugby history. So can you take our listeners back through your recollections of that day and that moment in particular?
The whole test day for the Lions is it's a great day. It just, you're bubbling, you're buzzing. And we'd lost the first one. A few of us got picked a bit by surprise because there was masses of changes. And you're on the bus. We get to the ground, and you're nervous. It's your first test for the Lions. Your first time. You've been with all those guys, but you're still nervous. You start thinking back about past tours and past players and the history and the tradition, and a bit like the first international you play in, or maybe your first club game you go in, it's a bit of a blur. But I don't know, for some reason, that moment is almost in slow. I can't remember too much about my playing rugby, but that for me is a slow motion play that we get into their 22. I get the ball, and I don't even remember looking too much. It's almost like a corridor was made, and everything else was blurred apart from what was in HD was this corridor. And so the corridor was there, and it's just telling me to just dribble the ball through. As I catch, I run, I drop the ball onto my foot, I kick it end over end, and you're just looking for that ball just to pop up on the route that you're running, and not go right or not go left, which we know a rugby ball can. And it pops up, bring it into my chest, and I go over sort of rugby league style. And then you just explode. You can't believe this is something you've tried has come off. And I remember running back, and it was literally dreamy, ghostly. As I was running back, I had just these visions of mini rugby, junior rugby, Colts rugby, junior rugby at Walker Old Boys, which is a junior club in Bath that I went back to. Colts, I went back to Bath after Walcott. It's third team Spartans, second team United, first team. Just all these visions of kind of what I've been involved in rugby since I was 7 years old to that point of 23. And it all in a flash, but it seemed longer than that. But that's what I felt. It was just euphoric. It floods your body. It fills your body. It must be like being high. You're just ecstatic. You're just ready to explode. And all this happens in seconds, because before you know it, you're lining up and you've got to defend again or you've got to attack again. But you're back in the moment. But for a few moments, I was taken away, and yeah, it was a great time and a great moment.
Jerry, I was going to ask you about that drop goal. Now, I watch rugby games now, right? It was at Durban, second test, monumental moment in Lions history. It never happens now. Even if a team are 2 points up and you've got the ball and you're attacking in opposition 22, for a midfielder just to go, because I reckon if you put that through the hands or you probably show and go, you score a try anyway. But you've just gone, right, sod that. I don't want the risk. I'll bang over a drop goal. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anymore in the game. So what was that moment like compared to scoring a try? You've spoken about being away from having this amazing couple of seconds and feeling high. Same buzz kicking a drop goal to win a Lions Test series?
Jamie, it wasn't. It's really, I think it's because of my time. It's another 8 years on, 9 years on, and I'm more experienced. I'm trying to just do as well as I can do. I was desperate to get into the test side. I made it. There was big competition. Alan Bateman was quality centre. Gibbsy was playing well. It was tough to get in there. And we have moments in life, and our lives happen to involve rugby. And we have moments and times in rugby where, I've missed tackles that have led to plenty tries being scored against the team I'm playing for. I'm sure we've all done that. And I've had wonderful moments where I've beaten players, scored tries, or laid off a pass, dropped a pass off, and they've won. The drop goal was a time and a place and a moment, but it doesn't stand still for me like the drop, like the dribble through and the pop up and the try in '89. Maybe because that was my first big moment as a Lion. This was as big a moment, if not bigger, because it was part of winning that series. But it was something. It was almost kind of functional. Everybody had gone in. Gregor had taken an inside centre ball. He'd taken it on the short. He wanted to score a try, maybe saw a gap, went for it. Gibbsy was always laid up somewhere. And Dorse got the ball, looked up at me, and it's almost like, what the f are you doing? I'm like,
yeah.
I kind of looked at the post. I could hear Austin Ely outside me giving it that. Well, there's no way he's getting the ball.
Yeah.
So Dorse is shiv it to me, and I just instinctively, I've just dropped it. I've just gone for the drop goal, and then that was, I was in the moment there. I kind of dropped the goal, but then I was like, yo, quick, let's get back. We got 3 minutes. These guys have scored so many tries. We got to get our asses back. So let's get back. Let's defend, and we've won the game, and we can go on the lash for a week and not worry about their tests. So let's get back, defend for our lives, defend for the series, and we managed to do that.
It was amazing. I know, Jamie, you were dying to ask that question. I had it in, but no, it was incredible. I
just say it's incredible because
it is. It's amazing.
It's not like Wilkinson 03 World Cup final, forwards piling forwards, Johnny's behind the ruck, Dawson to Wilkinson, you're 10 stepping up for the grand moment. You're playing life's attacking rugby in the opposition 22. You're 10 meters out from the line? And your midfielder just goes, all right, instead of passing or having a crack, like, can we set it up for Gregor to go for the drop goal? Don't worry about that. 3 points. Thank you very much. Stroke back. It just seems so casual in the moment. But Jerry, as you explain it brilliantly, it's quite functional. Like you're right. We need to score a 3-pointer. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to do it. Thank you very much. Defend for 2 minutes. It's when a Lion series get on the lash.
Oh, because Jerry, when I was looking at it, I was like, was this something that you had just practiced? You were practicing and training, it was going particularly well, but no, it was just an instinctual thing. You just decided you were just going to go for it. Like, it's just class. Laissez-faire.
I think, from memory, in '89, I tried that little dribble against Canberra, ACT, and it didn't come off. But it didn't stop me trying it in a test match. I'm pretty sure in one of the build-up games, I had a attempt at a drop goal, and Telfer, I think the camera pans to Telfer, and it's kind of like he swears almost. Well, he does swear. He's livid. He's a bit pissed off that I've had a go at it. But you know, Jamie touched on Johnny Wilkinson's drop goal. You know, England supporters love Johnny's drop goal. England, Welsh, Scottish, and Irish supporters love my drop goal. So I kind of think, I've pleased as many people as I can. But it's
fair play to you.
Well, look, on that note, we will let you go, Jerry. Thank you so much to the Famous Grouse for allowing us to get you on the show. And thank you so much for your brilliant insight into the Lions.
You've all been fantastic. Thanks for having me. Keep well and stay safe.
Thanks, Jerry.
Cheers, Jerry. See you in Bath, mate.
Well, that is it from us. Thanks to the Famous Grouse for their support of this episode, and to Jeremy Guscott, Ryan Wilson, and Jamie Roberts. And thanks to you for listening. More offloading next week. Make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a rating and review if you can. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube as well. Thanks, guys. Stop trying to put me off.
Bye. Thanks very much, everyone.